Hello everyone. Welcome to MMPYQ program of NextIS. Today we will be discussing another question of agriculture. So today's question is based on direct and indirect subsidies. Okay. So if we see our syllabus, then these subsidy is mentioned in our syllabus directly. Okay. So this is the particular phrase which is given in our syllabus: issues related to direct and indirect farm subsidies and minimum support prices. Now if you see the question says what are the direct and indirect subsidies provided to farm sector, and discuss the issues raised by the WTO in relation to agricultural subsidies. Okay, it's a pretty straightforward question. We will be having enough content for this question, uh, but the challenge which would arise here would be of value addition and also microstructuring of our answer. So continuing with our answer discussion, we will go towards introduction. Okay, so there can be two approaches for our introduction. Uh, First approach can be definition based. Okay, so here we will define the subsidy and how actually it will help the farm sector in India. That will be our approach. Okay, so subsidy is a kind of financial assistance provided by government to farmers and other stakeholders to increase the production, to ensure the income of the farmer, as well as also maintain the food and nutritional security. Okay, so this you can approach this particular approach for your introduction. The second thing can be, the second way to introduce our answer can be data based. Okay, so here we can mention the amount of subsidy which is provided by the government. Okay, so roughly 2% of GDP is being provided as agricultural subsidy, or 21% of farmer income. Okay, so you can mention this data to introduce your answer. Okay, so now moving forward to our body part. So basically if you see the question, there are two parts. So in macro scale, structuring is easy. That in first part we have to write about the direct and indirect subsidy, and in the second part the issues raised by WTO. Okay, so this part is easy in terms of structuring. Okay, but when we go into these two parts, some micro structuring is also required. Okay, so that is actually a challenge. Okay, so how we will that do? So if you actually will do, then what will happen, you will get some extra marks from the other candidates. Okay, so we will go into the part of direct and indirect subsidies. Okay, so what is a direct subsidy? So basically this is a financial assistance provided by the government to the farmers without involvement of any intermediaries. Okay, without any involvement of intermediaries, if subsidy is given by the government to the farmer, then it is a direct subsidy. Okay, now there are actually two types of, you can say there are two types of direct subsidy. One is price support, the other is income support. Okay, so this is actually microstructuring, that within the broader headlines, what kind of sub headlines basically we are going to use, that is the microstructuring part which we have to do. Okay. Now we will go into that, what is price support and what is income support. Okay, so first we will go into the income support part. So it is very simple, that government is actually giving some amount of money to the farmers. Okay, so simply यहाँ पे you can actually also draw some kind of diagram also. Okay, to show this. Now you have to give the example. What kind of example we can give? Okay, so the biggest scheme which involves this income support is PM Kisan. Okay, so PM Kisan is basically an income support scheme which provides rupees 6,000 to every farmer. Okay, so this is basically the value addition which is required. You do not have to just give the name or mention the direct subsidy. Go little bit deeper into it, tell some details, like if you are telling about PM Kisan, then in 1 or 2 line tell about it. Then you also have to tell that what will be its impact. Okay, so if farmers are getting this 6,000 rupees, then basically they can use this money to buy some inputs or invest on their fields, which will actually lead to increase in production or productivity. Okay, so that will add some value to your answer. Mentioning just the direct subsidy or the indirect subsidy and giving names will not fetch you very good marks. Okay, then you will be getting very average marks. Okay, so that is the thing which you have to keep in your mind. Then PM Kisan is central government scheme. You can also mention some other scheme run by the state governments. Okay, so in Telangana we have a Ritu Bandhu scheme. Okay, Ritu Bandhu is there. There is a Kalia scheme is there in Odisha. Okay, so these are the schemes which you can mention in the income support part. Now we will go to the price support part. Within the direct subsidy, the price support part will go. Okay, so here actually government is providing some kind of price assurance. To farmers. So always use certain keywords, okay, which actually makes your expression, language expression very good. Okay, so with use of very less words, you will be saying a lot of things. Okay, so in every subject you have to keep this thing in your mind. So price assurance, in price support, basically price assurance is given. Now example of this is, the biggest example is minimum support price. Okay, so as we know, for 22 crops MSP is declared. All kind of crops here basically are covered. Okay, so basically what happens in this, through MSP, what will be government doing is that it is giving assurance to the farmers that this is the least amount of money. Okay, so whatever price is suppose is fixed by the government, suppose for wheat it is suppose 2,000 rupees. Okay, so that is the least amount of money they will be getting. They can also get it more. Okay, so that is the biggest, that is the thing which you have to mention. Okay, and also mention that how it makes how it helps India in producing rice, wheat or other kind of crops. Okay, so it plays very important role in agricultural GDP of India. So that will be your value addition part. Now other kind of price support scheme also being launched. Okay, so there is one particular scheme, PM Asha is there. Okay, so their price deficiency payment is there. So what happens here? There is no physical procurement of the crops, but if farmers are not getting their MSP price, then whatever difference is there, that will be compensated by the government. So that is basically price deficiency payment, which you can mention. Also, there has been a new scheme has been launched by the government. Okay, so there is a national mission on oilseed. Oil palm. Okay, so here also government is giving price assurance. So some price will be fixed by the government. If the farmers of the oil palm, if they are not getting it, then whatever the difference is there, that will be compensated by the government. You also can mention that India is very much dependent for the vegetable oil. Import dependence is there for vegetable oils. Okay, so they basically through this scheme or through this mechanism, government is ensuring that enough production of oil palm, and basically which is a vegetable oil, happens within India, and we become Atmanirbhar in this sense. Okay, so that will give some value addition to your answer. So that is our the thing. Direct subsidy thing is covered. Okay, so now we will go to the indirect subsidy. So in direct subsidy, we said there was no involvement of intermediaries. So in direct subsidy, intermediaries involvement was not there. Okay, but indirect subsidy, we have involvement. So what happens? Like through example, we can understand like fertilizer subsidy is there. Okay, so this is subsidized. Okay, so the prices of fertilizer in India is not decided by the demand and supply of market, but it is actually decided by government. Okay, so farmers actually get at lesser price, which reduces okay, which reduces the cost of production. So you need to explain this thing. Okay, why these subsidies are given. Okay, so different subsidies have different kind of objectives, so you need to little bit explain that what are the different objectives of these subsidies. If you simply list out that these are the subsidies provided, then there is a chance you will get more average marks. Okay, so for apart from fertilizer, lot of indirect subsidies are provided by state governments. So one is power subsidy. Okay, irrigation subsidy is there. Okay, so these are basically provided by the state government. So all these subsidies actually reduces the cost of production for the farmer. Okay, our first part is over. Okay, so now we will go into our second part of the question. So if you see, it is asking we have to discuss the issues raised by the WTO in relation to agricultural subsidies. Okay, so here directive word is discuss. Okay, so whenever we are discussing the issues, we have to explain a little bit what are these issues, what are its ramification and consequences. Okay, so before directly going into the issues which is raised by WTO, we need to understand we need to have some background information. So the background information basically here is there is particularly agreement on agriculture. Okay, you need to have an understanding of this particular agreement because all the trade rules related with agriculture is being covered here. Okay, so this was actually negotiated in the Uruguay round during from 1986 to 1994. Okay, so what does this agreement on agriculture actually says? So actually it divides or it classifies the subsidies. Okay, so we have green box, we have blue box, and we have amber box. This kind of presentation you can also use in your answer, okay, because it makes your presentation more effective and also more presentable. Okay, so simply green box subsidy is basically subsidies which do not distort trade. Okay, so they do not distort any kind of trade. Blue box subsidies, basically amber box subsidies are the subsidies which do trade distortion. Okay, so trade distortion here is a very key word. Because subsidies provided by the governments, they change the dynamics of market. The demand and supply system of basically on which market works is actually changed by the subsidies provided by the government, so it leads to trade distortion. Okay, so amber box subsidies basically causes trade distortion. Blue box subsidies are basically the amber box subsidies, but they are with some condition. Okay, so what are these conditions? Basically these conditions limit the production. Okay, so they will put some limit on the production. Okay, so green box and blue box they are allowed, but the amber box subsidies, they have certain limitation. Okay, now what is this limitation? So particular term is used, de minimis. So basically what agreement on agriculture says that developed countries cannot give more than 10% of whatever agricultural production is there. So not more than the 10% of value of agricultural production as subsidy. Okay, 10% is for developing country, 5% is for developed country. Okay, because all these issues will actually revolve around all this, so we need to have a better understanding of this thing, and you also have to mention in your answer also these kind of words, agreement on agriculture, de minimis, all these things should come in your answer. Okay, so if we go into the issues thing, okay, what concrete point we have to write here? So one thing is market distortion. So agricultural subsidies given to the farmers will actually lead to the overproduction of agricultural produce. Suppose rice and wheat we are giving subsidy, then farmers will be more incentivized to grow them because they are getting subsidized. Suppose inputs are subsidized, they will be, or if they are getting MSP, okay, so they will be incentivized to grow it more. And overproduction, what will happen? Overproduction will happen, and if the country exports this particular agricultural produce to other countries, it will lead to crash of prices in those countries. Okay, so actually it leads to market distortion, and we can also mention trade distortion. Okay, if you are exporting these agricultural produce. Okay, so this is the first thing and the most important thing which leads to there. Okay, the other thing is related to capping of subsidies. Now as we know, for developing countries 10% limit is there. Okay, now 10% limit is there, but in certain year what is happening ki India is all breaching this particular limit. Okay, so this is basically has been raised by a lot of developed countries that India has been breaching this limit. Okay, so breach of limit can also be your point. Okay, you have to give notifications. Okay, so all these things require you have to give notifications to other countries, or you have to tell that what has been the kind of support you have been given to your farmers. So certain issues has been raised that India is not giving proper notification for this, okay, or full disclosure has been not given. So this is also an issue which has been raised, okay. Public stock holding. Public stock, basically what happens ki government is procuring at MSP, okay, and India maintains buffer stock for rice and wheat. So it has been said that India will use this buffer stock to export these food grains to other countries, and so that also has been a bone of contention in WTO negotiations. For this particular thing, peace clause has also been invoked by India. So this peace clause was at Bali in 2017. This was negotiated, and India has already, like for some time, in some incidences, we have actually breached that 10% limit. Okay, so we have invoked this peace clause, and through this peace clause, basically no legal actions can be actually taken against any country, even if they are violating that 10% norm. Okay, so these are the things, issues which you have to mention. Now we will go forward to our conclusion part. So here basically here issues have been asked. So whenever there, if question is asking some problem or issue, we need to give a way forward. Okay, so way forward can be structured in two ways. Okay, basically in two parts we have to do this. Okay, one aspect involve the international aspect, the other is national one. So in international aspect, basically we need to renegotiate all these agreement on agriculture, and these subsidy classification has been done mostly by the developed countries. Okay, so there is a need to renegotiate these kind of agreements. Okay, also India can work with other developing countries. So diplomacy is also required here, especially the developing countries, African countries, who will also face these kind of problem which is being faced by the India. Okay, so these are the two aspects here we can mention in way forward. In national aspect, we can say that we need to focus more on the subsidies, kind of subsidies which are less trade distorting, or they do not play any role in trade distortion. Okay, so if we say the income support schemes like PM Kisan, these are not trade distorting. Okay, so we need to use them more and shift from the other kind of subsidies basically which are causing problems. Okay, so this is the way forward which you can give, and in the end basically we have to conclude. Okay, so we can mention that we need to move away from contentious subsidies, and also move from subsidy to investment. This has been recommended by, like, Ashok Dalwai committee has been there. Okay, and different other committees also mentioned this, that we need to move from subsidy system to more investment based system. Okay, because this will ensure long term growth. Okay, so this can be our conclusion. If you have liked the video, hit the like button and share it with your friends. We will be discussing our agriculture question in next few sessions. Thank you.